Have you ever sat on your own hand and then held your hand with the other hand? And then it feels like you're holding somebody else's hand because the one hand's asleep? I feel like
a lot just happened right there.
I feel like I'm holding someone else's leg.
Welcome to the 17th segment, an official podcast of Good Morning BT.
So it's episode 7, but if we go back to episode 6 was like
2 weeks ago.
But it was like twice as long, wasn't it? Like maybe this should be 8.
I feel like that, well, technically it wasn't as long as we thought it was because the camera died halfway through the beach episode version. So
both of them.
Yeah, both
unfortunately.
cameras. Mm-hmm. Both cameras died. So the end of the podcast, which was where it really went off the rails, where I noticed your feet for the very first time. You had
as I always say, that's assuming it ever was on the rails.
You have to actually listen to the podcast to understand the entire podcast itself. But yes, it feels like that should have been a two-parter. And we left it there to kind of sit and stew because people were watching it so much that we needed to kind of let it cook.
Yeah, let it cook. That's what they say.
Yeah. So now here we are, episode 7A.
And we're back in Mom and Dad's basement.
Yep.
Here we are.
We've road tripped.
Have you missed it? It's not quite the exotic backdrop that North Myrtle Beach was, but three times we've gone now. I think the highlight of the trip had to be the podcast this time. And I like the fact that we did it the night before. It was a different vibe. We had everybody there. Steve, who puts this whole podcast together for us, executive producer, did a bang-up job of getting all the lighting and all the mics and then the post-production. It's not an easy thing, but especially like when we talked about doing that, like you and I said, hey, yeah, like we always do, we should do this. And then we have to figure out how to do it. Steve was the MVP of that endeavor because
he's the MVP of all of this because until we had Steve on our team, doing a podcast and especially a video version of the podcast was just an idea. Hey, why don't we do this? And then we found Steve, somebody who was capable of helping us create all of the weird things that live in our heads.
I would turn on my camera, but I'm blushing.
So this is the first time, I feel like it's been like a month since we were here doing this, and it really sort of almost has when you think about all that's happened. I mean, we did the last one of these, and then we went to the beach, and then we had Skyshow, and then you and I went on vacation, and last week, like we said, we decided to let the North Myrtle Beach podcast cook for a little while.
Well, we were off half of the week last week. So when we came back, we hadn't done enough 16 segments on the radio to warrant the 17th segment. Although we did have some things happen at Skyshow that are worth talking about. We ran into Emily Ratliff, which was amazing, from Claire's Army, which is an organization that Bo and I have both helped support. And Bo has certainly for years been involved with Claire's Army. She was there. So we got to spend time with her. And then it was kind of a hot and sweaty day. We did a couple of appearances on Brett Jensen's show. And Brett, did we do Brett Winterble's show too? No, I can't remember.
We did not.
The order of it. And
we did Brett Winterble. I mean, we did. Now I'm mixed up. We did Jensen's show, and then Winterble was before that, and then TJ Ritchie was after that. But it was an unusual day for us because 9 times out of 10 we're on the air in the afternoon for a special 3-hour, 4-hour broadcast because we don't usually do the morning show on July 4th, but because the Knights and WBT did a July 3rd, and there were some people who were like, who did not hear us talking before and said, why would you do it on July 3rd? It's a really easy answer if you think about it, if you know the inner workings of this, and maybe you don't, but I'm here to tell you, we do this in partnership with the Knights.
Right.
And so the Charlotte Knights obviously are one of many minor league baseball teams, and not every one of those teams can have a home July 4th game. So that's a big night if you're a minor league baseball team, no matter who you are, because, in minor league baseball, it's less about, the team that's there because it's fluid. It's minor leagues. If you do well on a minor league team, you get promoted. And if you do poorly on a major league team, you get demoted. But usually when you get demoted, it's just to get your bearings back, and then you're gone again.
Get your feet wet again.
Minor league teams have a hard time marketing the team. It's more the experience.
Yeah.
So July 4th is a huge deal no matter who you are. So this is the year that happens maybe 7 or 8 where the Charlotte Knights don't get a July 4th home game. So
and it was a sellout crowd, standing room only for the show, for the fireworks show itself, even though it was on July 3rd. It was kind of it was like Christmas Eve. It was July 4th Eve, and the present was the baseball game and the incredible fireworks show that you and I got to MC, which by the time we got down there, my underwear and my shirt just felt like a wash rag that had been sitting in the shower and was just soaked and dripping. And they not only you're out on the field, the huge crowd of people. There were, I think, 11,000 people there or something, and they have a camera that they put you on the big screen. Sadly, when you're sweaty, and I tried to get it under control, but it was so hot. And then we were standing kind of down there in the dugout, which was like a heat tunnel. And so I was so sweaty, and there were people, I had no idea that friends of mine, people that I've known throughout the years who were in the audience that didn't know that we were going to be there. And so I started getting all of these text messages like, "Hey, Beth, it was so great to see you." And inevitably they all sent me a photo of my giant sweaty head on the big screen. And I pulled all of my hair back just because it was so hot, and my hair was like,
me too.
It was sticking to me. But by the time I got on the field, my head was like, my whole head was sweaty. So it kind of looked like I had just pulled my head out of a horse's butt and then just ran out on the field and started talking into a microphone. It was like,
I'm not saying this about you. I'm saying what you said made me think this, because you're talking about that way you feel when you're at an event and you can't go inside to air conditioning and you just have to just deal with it.
And you're supposed to look presentable. It's impossible when it's 1 billion degrees and you're in a heat tunnel and you're excited, which I sweat when I get excited anyway. And howdy.
I'm not saying this about you, but I'm saying it's what it made me think of, because I sat on the bleachers for many a soccer, a baseball game out in the sun back when my kids were playing rec sports. And I'll never forget, we walked up one day and the bleachers were really, really hot. And we sat down next to one of the other parents, and I go, "Man, it's hot today." And she went, "Yep, Butt River."
Yes.
And I've never forgotten that as long as I live. But that feeling, it's always the way it is. We have a great time on Skyshow Day, but it's always hot. And it was hot
July. Well, so I haven't ever called it Butt River, but I get it. I call
it. I don't throw that phrase around very often, only on the podcast down here in the basement.
Right, because we can say it here.
Because no one will ever talk about this again now that I just said it.
Well, so we always called it canoe butt, because the sweat mark that you get on the back of your pants looks like a canoe. So
it's the greatest thing about Beth Troutman. I sit here and I'm thinking, do I say this? Is this an appropriate story for right now? Is this going to come back and I'm going to hear it? And then Beth goes, "Up, hold my beer." Canoe. What did you say? Canoe?
Canoe butt. Because if the sweat mark on the back of your pants, Steve, I see you nodding back there. You know what I'm talking about. The sweat mark on the back of your pants looks like a canoe.
I'm also taking notes for our possible title and or screen caps.
So this is what I was worried about, because I was wearing
Canoe butt versus Butt River. I
was worried about Butt River, canoe butt, whatever you want to call it, whatever your favorite phrase is, because I was wearing white jeans, and we talk to the crowd, but then we turn around to watch the fireworks, and so I was thinking like, oh man, am I gonna get a screenshot? Am I gonna get a photo of canoe butt in the middle of all of the other photos that were taken? But it was so much fun. But here's the other story about when we turned around. Not only were we concerned about the sweat.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was about to say.
Were you about to talk about this?
Yeah, no, take it, Russ.
No, we're standing there on the field. All of this is all going on, and a gigantic bug flew in. Like somebody said it was a palmetto bug if it's a flying cockroach. Is that right? I'm not an entomologist.
Well, if I had gone and sort of gotten a close-up, everybody would have wondered what the heck was going on. But trust me, we're out on a baseball field, all these thousands of people in the stands, and there's a bug big enough that
to saddle.
So DJ Ace, who works with us here at Radio 1, I just saw him in the hall on the way down here, and I said, "Hey, we were talking about you because we were laughing at the bug that you saw on the field," and he started laughing. He goes, "Man, I had to say something." And Beth and I were out there about to go do the fireworks presentation, and all of a sudden I hear, "Bo, Beth, look!" And he's pointing. He's in the dugout, and he's pointing at this bug on the field, and I'm thinking, they can see this from the stands.
This thing was so big, and it was scurrying right toward my feet. And then you can't just run around. I can't scream and
He was
run
looking for a canoe.
Well, that's the other thing I was concerned about. I was like, he can smell my sweat, and I probably smelled like garbage, and the big roach wanted to come find where the garbage was. It's like, and the bug did not leave for quite some time. That bug followed us around, and then finally, I didn't know it had flown in, but then finally, close by us, it just decided to, right before the fireworks started, just decided to fly away. And when we talked about the fact that it flew away, somebody said, "Oh, that's a palmetto bug. That's not a cockroach," because apparently cockroaches can't fly. I don't know. I never get close enough to these bugs to know.
His name was Kelly Poplin.
Yeah, that was the time. And the funny thing was we were sitting on the field, and this bug really started coming toward, like trying to chase me around while the Army band was playing. And so the bug's coming toward us. DJ Ace was like, Beth, it's right there. It's right there. And I literally leaned over, and it probably looked incredibly rude in the moment because I was not trying to be not patriotic, but I leaned over and I was like, boy, if there was ever a time for Cardinal Environmental, like, this is the time.
CardinalEnvironmentalSolutions.com.
704-900-5140 if you want to give them a call.
Look at you. Number memorizer, you.
I know. It's just because I have to call them so frequently because, the centipedes, all of the bugs.
Yes, she has exotic bugs at her house, and they follow her to baseball fields.
They follow me to baseball fields. They follow me around. But it was an incredible night. The fireworks show was spectacular as always. Bo and I had so much fun. And yes, it was hot, but it's July in North Carolina. Of course, it's going to be hot. And then the two of us, after we both probably got home, I'm guessing 11 o'clock, midnight, something like that. And I don't know about you, but I crashed because we had done our morning show that morning. So that entire day had been almost a 24-hour day for us.
The last stretch, really with the beach show and then Skyshow and then, vacation, which was great, but that changes your routine. And then we came back for a couple of days last week and then went back into the weekend. And now here we are. I feel like things haven't been in their normal rhythm for a while. And I love this time of year. The summer's fun. We do things like that. But there is something to be said also for sort of settling back into, like I said, the rhythms of life.
Yeah, the routine. So we both had a couple of great days off. I sat and kind of stared at the wall and read a couple of books and it just kind of cleansed my brain.
So you had a staycation.
I did do a staycation. My husband couldn't get the time off. So I did the book reading time with the dogs. It was just this kind of lovely, take a deep breath because if you listen to Good Morning BT, and we hope that you do, and if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to that podcast as well. The last 6 months, especially since Donald Trump was inaugurated, it has just been constant. Everything has moved so quickly and you have to be on your game. So I've just been constantly consuming news. And a lot of times it's not necessarily good news. You're reading about a lot of violence, whether it be Ukraine or Israel or Iran. And it has an impact on just your general well-being sometimes, unless you take deep breaths. And that's why we do the show that we do, the kind of show that we do, because we know that you need deep breaths. And so we have structured our show to also be deep breaths for people so that you can feel hopeful and good and joyful and happy going into your day, because we know that has a ripple effect. We know that impacts how you are going to be throughout your day and how you might interact with other people and then how they might interact with other people. And our goal has always been to offer all of those things. You feel informed, but most importantly, you feel hopeful and joyful, and you can feel good about going into your day. And so that's kind of what the staycation for me was. It was just kind of bringing the joy back Not that I ever lose
White
joy
rain
with
and roses.
you. If you don't know that story, you definitely.
But see,
Listen
that
to the
was
podcast.
we had a moment on the show today that sort of borrowed from a moment the other day when Beth we were talking about Brendels versus roses.
And the way that we got down the Brendels rabbit hole, by the way, was we were talking about DMVs first, and then a DMV that Bo went to that was near a Blockbuster, and then I randomly said, "Oh, our Blockbuster was right next to Brendels." and
This is us.
then it became a Brendels conversation.
This is how we roll. And so that sort of came back up on the air today. But today's a good example. We just finished doing our Wednesday show, and one of the things we hang our hat on, 3.5 years in, is the ability to sort of be in all places
Yes.
over the course of 4 hours. Now, I know all of you can't listen for 4 hours, but we have a podcast version of the show every day. And we have a lot of people that say they listen at different times and go back and hear things. And then you have this extension of the show. But I'm telling you, I love the fact that today we can interview the most talked about U.S. Senator in the country for the last 2.5 weeks, Tom Tillis. Now, he happens to be a guy that we know because he's the senior senator from North Carolina and has come on the show a lot.
And he listens to the
Right.
show and will randomly call in. And one time, one of our brand new call screeners hung up on him, not Steve, hung up on him because he thought it was a prank call.
But he's not the only politician that listens to our show. We hear from people all the time. But what I'm getting at is today we spent a solid almost 30 minutes, sorry, Mike, talking to U.S. Senator Tom Tillis, who has been at the center of American politics for the last several weeks because, he was the guy that told Trump, I'm not going to vote for the big, beautiful bill. Trump sort of got into a back and forth with him over social media. At least Trump was releasing messages, and Tillis felt the brunt of it, so much so that he decided not to run for office again in 2026, which then sort of opened the floodgates. On the second half of the story is, okay, wow, there's an open seat in North Carolina. Who's going to run for that? Is it going to be Laura Trump? Is it going to be Roy Cooper? All of this that I mentioned, because we spent 30 minutes on that today talking to the newsmaker, and then we turn right around, on a dime, and we're talking about Brendels and roses and white rain and old commercials. And the fact that we've built a show where that expectation is not odd, it's just kind of how we roll.
Right.
I love that. And on top of that, I'll tell you something. I'm 13 years in hosting this morning show for BT, and you've been with me the last 3.
3.5, dude.
3.5, almost 4. But I'm going to tell you what you want to do in broadcasting or whatever thing you do in life. You want to, when you get mentally spent and go on a vacation, somewhere along that vacation, you start thinking, okay, I'm excited to get back to this.
And if you love what you do, that's exactly the feeling. I've had enough days off. I want to go back to work. And how lucky are we that we both have that? I think we both texted each other that.
And get to get back to our group, Steve and Bernie and Zoki and Mark and Boomer and this is a team that everybody gets mentally spent. You and I both said that to each other before we went off and took a few days. We need to go and, recharge and reset. But I already knew that part of the resetting process is I'm going to get to that point where I'm like, okay, I want to get back at it. And I hope everybody listening or watching this either has, or maybe you're in that situation now, or you get to that situation. Because I'm not sitting here, and I know you won't either, and say it's always been like that.
Right? No,
in fact, it's why we like this situation right now so much, because that's where we are.
Yeah.
So we had a good vacation. We had some good time off, and now I feel like we're back at it, and let's go.
And talking about things like white rain, and in all of this time, the time that we were off, and right when we came back, the introduction of our WBT text line, which I will point out on the very first version of the 17th segment, I said wasn't going to happen until 2028. And that thing, as soon as they told us we were going to get it, then we got it. So,
which means, what do we want now?
Yeah, exactly.
What do we want,
ask
Steve?
for?
What's on our? What should we throw
for?
out there into the ether? Because apparently this podcast it makes things happen.
I'll tell you what we need. We need a Good Morning BT cruise. We need a cruise.
She went there
with Good Morning BT listeners, and we all go on a cruise somewhere.
So
I was thinking, Mike covers that work, and just like, let's go on a cruise.
Let's go on a cruise together.
We have discussed the fact that Brett Winterbull takes listeners overseas. He's gone to Europe. He was in Spain, just a couple of weeks ago. Last year, was it France? He was in France, I think, last year. Germany.
Ireland.
I mean,
Italy.
I guess it's not that far out of the realm of possibility, right?
I think that we could absolutely.
A Good Morning BT cruise.
We could absolutely make it happen.
Let's go cruise the Intercoastal Waterway.
We'll do, instead of a cruise, it'll be like the Good Morning BT tugboat. just a few of us, just a smattering.
Well, let's do the show on the roof of the Y first.
We'll get that one done.
And then we'll move to the cruise ship.
Which that is part of what's so beautiful about this text line, 704-570-1110. If you are somebody who's listening to this podcast for the first time and now you start listening to our show, we love this text line. We had somebody text us. We were talking about the Dowd YMCA and somebody texted us that they were jogging on the rooftop and Bo randomly said, we should do a show from the rooftop. And then the VP of marketing or the VP of the Y messaged us and was like, I heard the show. Yeah, come on. We'd love to do it.
Side note, here's something I want to try to will into happening. Now that we have the text line, and now that we have the 17th segment, I want, if you're listening to this right now or you're watching this, I want you to text us now while you're listening or watching it and tell us that you're listening or watching the 17th segment, and then we can kind of see where it populates.
And what time?
Like what time of day? Like I want like an exotic one at like 3 a.m.
Yes. And if you're doing that, text us some of the things you want us to talk about. If you hear a conversation like the one we had today, and today being Wednesday, July 16th, I got the date, nailed it. How we got to White Rain, if you were listening to that, I'm like, why are you talking about butane, Conair butane gas curling irons? If you have random questions like that, those are the things we want to talk about on this show. If there are things that you are interested in, that you wonder after, if we're all giggling and laughing about something and you're wondering what the joke is, or if you're wondering what the commercial break was like after that happened, send us those questions. 704-570-1110.
Well, and I don't want to pull from the text line, but because of being the guy who does this podcast and having the conversations with our digital folks and everything, if they also want to like and comment on the video, on the video version here on YouTube. And of course, if you're listening on, Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, of course, liking and recommending and sharing with friends is phenomenal. But you can leave comments also like on the video, and we can always go back to those, next week and try to answer some of those as well.
I love that he's always the digital. He's our marketing guy.
That's our executive producer of the 17th segment, which you're watching or listening to right now. Now, it's interesting. We've gotten this in the form of text and emails, and like people are kind of like, you guys just got a text message. Welcome to the 21st century. I do just for a second want to tell you, like, you may say, how could WBT not have a text line? I don't know. Like WFNZ is in our building. They've had one for like 10 years. We go to meetings and they talk about the FNZ text line, and we'd be sitting there going, like, when are we getting ours? I don't know. I don't work in engineering, and I don't know if I really honestly am saying, I don't know why it's taken us so long to get one, but we finally have it. So it's kind of funny that people are saying, why did you guys just learn how to text? No, but until this, we've had to basically use our own stuff.
Right. And emails and then rely on phone calls. And some people wanted to maybe comment on something, but didn't want to be on hold or couldn't get through on the phone line. Maybe didn't want to wait through a commercial break or something like that. And this is a way to instantaneously like communicate with us. And we've talked a lot on the show just offhandedly about our texting styles, and emojis and the amount of punctuation marks that people use. The thing that I'm loving so much about this is that people are getting to see those parts of our personalities. I realized today, because I try to respond to people and get people's names and
I know where this is going.
I do. I went back and looked at everything. I do use a lot of exclamation points and a lot of emojis.
To the point where if you don't get those, then you think something's wrong. If Beth texts me and just uses a period or just one exclamation point, I'm like, she's in a bad mood.
So,
like, what's bothering her?
Now I'm carrying that on with this text line, and I'm doing it on my computer screen, not on my phone, and I'm still typing an exclamation point and 47,000 emojis, and so it's just the enthusiasm.
I'm wondering, like, when you and I are texting back and forth each day, when you take breaks? I used to think that you just threw your phone in a well, like you always say.
I do. That's what I do. Yes.
Are you actually just texting 40 other people before you get back to me?
It could be. That sometimes happens that I'm
because if you watch the algorithm of the texts, and I'm sorry, like I realized on day one that I was not going to win this battle. I was just going to have to be comfortable with the fact that every once in a while, once in a blue moon, I'm going to text somebody back. And it's not because I don't like to text or I don't want to text, but we sort of have our rhythms of what we do during the show. And I have my routine, and I'm still getting used to having text coming in, but I look down and I'll click on one, and then I'll look over here and we'll do a segment, and there'll be 50 more in between it, and I will lose my place. Meanwhile, Beth has responded to like 16 texts, and I'm like, I can't keep up. So every once in a while, Beth will go, "Ooh, you responded to one."
I'm just so excited to have conversations with people who are out there.
But I like you all too. I want to respond too.
He does.
But she's like,
enthusiastic.
Bo responded, and when you say that, it's me like, thanks, Bo.
Thumbs up.
But I love getting the text, and it's like working here as long as I've worked here. And by the way, earlier, I'm just trying to be transparent. I don't know why it's taken so long. Maybe there's a really good reason. Maybe it was really hard to be able to connect it to 570-1110.
We're 103 years old. We're still running with like a gerbil on a wheel, and now it's finally we upgraded.
But on the flip side of that, I can tell you, having started working here when I was in high school, the phone screener phone that you use, that you pick up to answer the phone calls, is the same one that was there in 1990. And I'm saying that not because can you believe that? But I'm saying that must be a damn good phone to hold up that long.
Back in the day, they used to make things great. Like the refrigerator that was in my parents' house for all those years, it worked for 40 years. Now you get one, you're lucky if it works for 4.
So I'm not
the same way.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, hey, when people say things like, welcome to the new century, I don't know why it's taking so long, but I'm glad it's here, and we're so glad to be using it.
I love it.
It gives us a different, and again, admittedly, I have to get used to having the option. Beth, can answer 60 of them during a commercial break where I'm like, oh, I just finished reading one.
But I have also, we get text message during an interview. Like, for example, today somebody texted while we were talking to Senator Tom Tillis, and I think his name was Eric. Eric made a really great point. And so I incorporated part of what his point was into one of my questions. And that there's something really special about that, because we want to make sure that we're getting the information, especially from these newsmakers, the information you want to know. And we may be interested in one line of questioning, but we love knowing that you are interested in getting a different piece of information. And oddly, Eric, what Eric had texted about was something I was thinking about already, and the fact that I was thinking about it and Eric texted me, I was like, that's serendipitous. That's great. I'm going to make sure that I get this question out there. So things like that have made this just incredibly marvelous and just another layer of what I think makes this show special and what makes this job so much fun, and why we're so excited to be back doing the show, and so excited to be back doing the 17th segment, and hopefully we'll have many, 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 many more.
You hear that, Charlotte? The frogs are staying.
We're staying. So that's it. What? Right? Episode 7?
Bye.
In the bag. Bye.
Oh, is that it? Are we calling it here?
Yeah, we're going to call that. Plus my foot's asleep. I can't feel it anymore. I feel like I'm holding someone else's leg.
You're not used to sitting in that position anymore.
I don't know why I was sitting like that for so long. Ouch.
Because you're Beth Troutman.
Listen to Good Morning BT with Bo Thompson and Beth Troutman. Live, weekdays 6 to 10 on News Talk 1110 and 99.3 WBT.